Okay, we have Jim and Elaine Nash here from Nina. Welcome. We're going to talk a little about soccer from the old days. We go back to the old days, back in the 60s and 70s. Now, you've coached soccer, you played soccer here, but you weren't really from this area. Where did you come from, and why did you come to Nina?
Well, I was playing soccer in England too, and then I was getting older, so I had a chance to come here. There was be an auto mechanic for Walt Biddle that used to be in Nina.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking for mechanics in England, and I just happened to send an interview there, and then he decided, yes, I want you to come over here. So that's how I originally came over.
Well, lucky us. It's a good thing you
Yeah.
came, because you changed soccer a little bit for the good here. Yes.
I enjoyed it, and at first I was a little reluctant because I wasn't sure about soccer here. You know, nobody said anything about it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So then I bumped into Willie Ertz, and he brought me over to watch some indoor stuff. At first I was a little nervous. I thought, oh, the guys are going to be too good or something. So I didn't take no equipment or nothing. But then the next week I played. So, and from there we went on. So it was good.
So Elaine, you went along with Jim because of his job change?
Somewhat. I really never thought Jim would ever leave England. We
Really?
were married 6 years before we came over here. I thought we were settled in London. And when he come up with this idea of, let's go to America, and he was like, yeah, well, he's never going to go. I'll go along with it. But yeah, he made his mind up, and he did say to me, I'll go first if you want me to. And I said, no way, I'm coming too. And so we sold our house and we moved to the United States. And I'd lived in London for 6 years, so it was quite a cultural shock. There was nothing here, there was no malls, there was nowhere for me to shop, there wasn't any high streets or anything like that. So it was a cultural shock when we came. And thank goodness there was soccer, because that's how we met our friends. And we're still friends with a lot of them now. So it's...
Did you realize that soccer actually at that point was still very new in the area?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I did not follow soccer when I lived in England. You know, Jim played, but Saturdays was when he was gone. He trained during the week and stuff. So for me, it was, work myself, do housework and all that kind of stuff. So I really didn't follow soccer. I knew the ball was round, and I did go and watch Jim a few times, but not very often, because when we were courting, we lived in different cities. So then when we came over here, that was when I became more interested in the game, because I went with him. I didn't want to be left at home. So I went wherever he went to play soccer. So.
Well, we thought you had been following soccer all your life, because
No.
we heard you on the soccer field.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I picked it up pretty quickly. I mean, I can't say that I hadn't known about soccer, or football as we called it, because it was on the television and my father watched games. And, like I said, Jim and I were going together for quite a long time. So I had been to some games. But, and after we were married, then on Sunday mornings when he would play under a fictitious name, because he shouldn't be playing, I went with the team then and did the laundry for him. So that was probably, the most exposure I had to the game in England.
But Jim's life was pretty well full of soccer then.
Oh, absolutely.
You went to school, but you also played soccer.
All the time.
That was for a select team,
Oh,
like
yeah.
we call it the Olympic teams.
Well, it was
or
under the
pre-Olympic.
West Ham Boys. It was called West Ham Boys. It was like an academy of the school, and you would have tryouts all the time, every year, from the age of 10 when I first started playing with that team. Every year I used to have tryouts like everybody else, and that's how it went. And then you made that team, but it wasn't that you was on it the following year. If you didn't make the cut, you was gone. You was just out of it. So for me, it was good because I worked hard to stay on that team.
So for about 20 years, you played youth soccer, adult soccer.
Yeah.
on a high level.
Oh, yeah,
It was
all
all
the
select,
time. It was-
select teams.
Yeah,
So when you came here, I think it was early 70s,
yeah,
right?
71 I came in.
71. What did you think of the level of soccer compared to the level
Well,
that you came from?
at first, when I first had a youth team, that was I used to threaten them, I'm going to sew your pockets up. I don't want your hands in your pockets. And I used to say, what are you saying? What's he saying? And, because English wasn't my top subject. I got by with what I had, and the kids all used to say, we don't understand it. And I used to tell the kids, if you don't understand, ask me personally what you want to know, and I will tell you. That's how it worked out. But at first, my first teams, they didn't know what a soccer ball was.
Yeah.
But it was, you could see the improvement as the game was going on, how they was. They picked it up pretty good, I think.
And it was hard for kids too, because they had no examples.
No.
There was no soccer on television.
No.
We had a team, the Fox Valley Bombers,
Yeah.
for which you played too, but they played on the Sunday afternoon, and
Right.
that was just for fun, actually. We had some people come and watch the wives and the families.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the other week you went to Milwaukee or Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the playing I had here too, to meet all the people when I first come here. I mean, I really didn't know anybody here. I just came and I didn't have no brothers or sisters or anything like that, so we just come by ourselves. And it was like coming to the North Pole.
Literally.
I mean, we come here in January and there's like 6 foot of snow everywhere, and I said, what is this? We never see snow.
No.
We didn't have no snow plows or anything like that. And Jim was only 2, my son was only 2. He used to sit on a table watching the plow go along 41. Oh, look. We never had none of that.
And the kids that came out for soccer, they grew up with football, baseball, hockey,
Yeah.
and basketball. Soccer was totally new for them, and for the parents.
Oh, yeah.
But all of them have learned a lot.
And I think over the years, what you just said about parents learning, when we started, parents didn't know too much. So I don't think you had much trouble from parents. Like today, you get a lot of trouble from parents.
It's amazing what a little education
Yeah.
did, yes.
They think they know everything.
Yeah.
But years ago, we never had that problem.
No. When we started youth soccer at Boys Sports,
Yeah.
back in '69, I believe it was, the parents were saying, wow, this is so nice. The parents are quiet, they don't
Yeah.
hassle the referees, there's no noise. But that only took a few months. Once they
Till
learned
I
a little
got
bit.
here and started yelling.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you get involved in soccer? I mean, you came here, you didn't know there was soccer,
No.
you didn't know anybody who played
No.
soccer.
Well, at first, I came with, I met Willie Ertz.
Willie Hurts,
Yeah.
yes. But they came from a solid soccer family.
Right.
His dad was very
Yeah, and then
active.
he brought me over, and I think you picked me up a couple of times when we went to boys' sports,
Mhm.
because soccer was all into boys' sports.
Right.
There wasn't no Nina then.
Yeah.
And I think at that time, you and I and Benny were saying that we need to switch this to get into soccer by playing soccer, rather than have boys' sports with baseball and all them other sports, because what we was doing financially was going to them anyway. So I think that's how Nina started, when you were saying that we should go over there.
Yeah, I think the numbers of kids from Nina started to outnumber the kids from Menasha.
Yeah.
And then we started the program there.
Right.
Took a while to get it going, but then the Paper Valley Soccer Club
Right.
was born.
Yeah.
And I remember your friend Ian Huxley was
Right.
very much involved in that too. Tell us a little bit about Ian. He passed away way too soon, but
Oh,
he had
yeah.
a big influence in soccer.
He did, and that was one of the first reasons I got involved too, apart from seeing what's happening with boys' sports. When Ian had a team, a young team, I don't know the age, under 10 or something like that, he said to me, would I give him some help? And I said, sure, I'd like to. And that's how I started with them.
Yeah.
And then we ended up having 4 teams between the two of us, and then Paper Valley got bigger, and there was more competition. You yourself had a good team, and that's where we really played, was with the good teams coming around.
We tried to expand it into more teams.
Yeah.
For the longest time, we were the only one in the valley,
Yeah.
and then we had Sheboygan.
Yeah,
Right.
But then we had also the UW Fox Valley
Yeah.
program, and that's Willie Hertz, the one we brought up before.
Yeah.
He was the first soccer coach over there
yeah.
Right.
and got kids interested, kids who never played soccer before.
No, half the kids we had never played, and they didn't even know a ball was round.
And he was lucky to have a professor like Ken Anderson
Yeah.
around, who played soccer in Chicago as a kid. He also got it into Fond du Lac campus, Manitowoc, Marinette.
Yeah,
And they played in the fall in the
Yeah.
two-year colleges. We went after those people and encouraged them to join the league in the spring
yeah,
as an amateur club, and most of them did. And soccer started to grow in their area.
Yeah.
well, his son played for me too. Kenny Anderson played for me.
Yes, yeah.
And I see him sometimes at the Y, and he says, I remember them days. He said,
Yeah.
he used to scream. I said, yeah, I can't scream anymore.
Now, you played with a lot of other immigrants.
Oh, yeah, a
There was a
lot.
big Dutch connection back
Yeah,
then.
yeah,
It's
it was-
more English people, South American. Pepe
Yeah,
comes to
Pepe
mind.
was
from
really,
Mexico.
I used to like him to play with, was
Yes,
nice.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
he was one of those guys that played the ball nice and to your feet, and
Yeah.
it was a nice
Yeah, you and
player.
Pepe were probably two of the
Yeah.
most experienced players,
He
and
was,
that other kids picked up
Yeah.
on that.
he was a very nice player to play with too.
Right. What advice would you have given the American kids that would come out and play with you, not coaching, but they played with you?
Well,
with
I
little
think the
experience?
biggest thing is learning your positions first. Once you can learn the position, what you have to do in that position, then you can play the ball in certain places. And you see it more so now on TV when you watch teams play. They knock the ball this way, sideways, this way, until they find that gap to put the ball in. If you can learn players to adapt to running in position and getting the ball and overlapping and stuff like that, I think that is the biggest thing for coaches, to make them understand what they've got to do.
And that's something that you can do during
Yeah.
practice.
Right.
They can practice
All the time.
kicking the ball, heading the ball on their own.
And a lot of times, when I first started, I used to just put the kids out in the positions like fullbacks, midfield, forwards like that,
Mhm.
and move them around, and so this is where you should go, here's where the ball should be. This is what you've got to learn to do. And then once they learn to do that, it was so much easier for a coach, because now you can put them and have a make-up game where they would learn to do that. Before, it was like, they would all stand there like soldiers, and you couldn't do that, you know.
That positioning was a
Yeah,
wonderful
it
tool to
was.
let them learn the
Easy-
game.
Yeah, it was easy to do.
Mhm. Now, you had a son, Jim Jr. He played soccer, right?
He played for Nina.
He played from age 4.
From age 4?
Yeah, they used to
With
call him
Chris.
the weed upper.
With Chris.
The
Chris
Chris
Kellerman.
Kelterman.
He played with Chris Kellerman, yes.
I used to pick Chris up because at first Chris was playing baseball, and I told Harry, I said, hey, let him come play soccer. And I used to work in Appleton, and as I drove him around, I used to pick him up because he lived in Menasha. I picked Chris up, bring him to practice, and by that time his dad would be home and take him home. But Jim and Chris all grew up together in that.
Yeah.
They was like 4 years old, and
Yeah, it was fun.
but it was funny because when my dad came over to visit, we had a game, and I took him to the game, and he picked up on Chris right away.
Yeah.
He said, that kid's going to be a good player.
Yeah.
And I hadn't told him who he was or anything. And he said, you can see the difference.
He could read the game,
Yeah.
yeah. It was just like his dad,
Yeah.
Yes. How about grandchildren?
Yeah.
Any grandchildren
Yeah.
that play soccer?
Yeah, they
Yes?
both played, yeah, from little on.
They
Yeah.
played in De Pere, was it?
In De Pere, they both played, well, they played for Green Bay Lightning, because Jimmy coached there too.
Okay.
So they both played at Green Bay Lightning. Parker, the younger one, was the better of the two soccer players, but they both were good soccer players. Yeah, they both enjoyed the game. And
Parker isn't playing as much anymore.
well, unfortunately, he broke his leg right at the beginning of his final season for the summer on a travelling team in Chicago, and it took a long while for that to heal. He did play his senior year at high school towards the end of the season, and unfortunately then the coaches from the colleges kind of moved away from it, so he decided, no, I'm not going to pursue it, I'll just pursue a career now.
But all through his youth, it was a big part
Oh yeah,
of his life.
well, you know, from when they could walk, as soon as they could walk, they had a soccer ball at their feet. They used to come in. We took care of them quite a bit because we used to call and say, can we have the boys? Because we just love to have them.
But when you first came over, soccer fitted perfectly then, and you got to know a lot of people, a lot of ladies. We put these parties together at the Whiting Boat House.
Absolutely, yes, I was thinking about that this morning, the Whiting Boat House.
That's some great times. We got everybody together on a Sunday afternoon. It was like a big family.
Well, it was. Sunday afternoons was like a big party. Sunday at grandma's house kind of thing. It was a lot of fun. But they became my family. I mean, I'm still really good friends with quite a few of the ladies. Still do things together.
So you never thought about going back
No.
to England then?
No, I didn't. No. There were times when I was lonely for family.
But didn't you give yourselves a couple of years?
2 years.
Trial?
2 years.
Yeah.
Exactly 2 years, and then
We
we
said we would give it 2 years, then go back, see what it's like, you know, see what.
we want to make our lives over
And then
here.
we went back, and we both said, no, we'll stay where we are.
Well, we're glad you did.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it was good for Jim too, growing up here. I know he missed some family when we first come over it, but afterwards, when he was meeting people at school and stuff like that, I think it was a lot better for him because things was really changing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the size of a city like London and Nina, Appleton, it was a huge difference.
Yeah.
You missed the malls, and what we missed was the TV, the soccer on TV. That we didn't have that here,
No.
and now it's all over.
yeah.
And the newspapers, you missed the
I
newspapers,
did
didn't
move,
you?
yeah, my dad used to send me the newspapers to let me know what team's doing well and what, you know, what players gone to this club and that. And I missed that. I mean, I used to like that.
You get it all on Facebook now?
Yeah.
That's where our soccer news comes from. Why do you think soccer has caught on since the 60s? You were very much involved, but it takes a lot to get other people involved too.
I think
it blossoms.
at the time when we first started, it was easy. You didn't need a lot of money. Anybody could play. And I used to say that too. Don't matter what size you are, you could be 8 foot tall, you could be 4 foot tall, you could still play. You could be out of shape, but you could play soccer. And I think people realise that anybody can play. You don't have to be a certain size. Like in basketball, you have to be over 6 foot, at least. You know,
It helps.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in any other sport, you have to have a particular size. In football, you have to have size too. And in soccer, you don't. Anybody can play.
But that was the same way in the 30s and the 40s, but there was no soccer back then.
No.
But there was also nobody.
But in the
promoting
50s, they knocked England out of the World Cup.
Was it 2-1? 1-0? Yes. Belo Horizonte.
But they said they was playing on the side of a cliff.
The ball kept rolling back, the game was called.
Yeah, that was a big thing in the 50s over in England.
Yeah, it was. See, here we didn't know anything.
No.
I remember Mike Kapanika, who was the president of the State Soccer Association. They had a convention in New York. At the hotel, they came in, and there was a sign: England 0, United States 1, or 1-2. And I said, look at these people. They know nothing about soccer. They even have the score wrong. There's no way that the U.S. could beat England.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, in the papers and all.
Yeah. You mentioned low cost.
Yeah.
When we first started out, Aid Van Geffen,
Yeah,
famous
right.
Nina
Yeah.
girls coach and boys JV, he said, we gotta get these kids to play and don't charge them anything.
Right.
Well, we charge them 50 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they brought a white T-shirt, and we dyed so many yellow ones, so many blue ones, so many green ones, so we could tell the difference between the teams. But 50 cents, but they thought that was too much.
Yeah.
And now people pay
Oh,
thousands of dollars
Yeah.
to
I mean,
play.
and you miss a lot of good players
Yes.
because the parents can't afford to do that.
Uh-huh.
And I've always said that, you know, money shouldn't come into it. If that kid's a good player, then he should be pushed
Should
into a
have a
good
chance,
team.
yes.
Someone else should say, okay, look, his parents can't afford this, but we can.
Yeah.
Because you miss a lot of good players when they get older. They say, oh, I'm going to play baseball, I'm going to play football, something else.
Definitely been missing something. there,
Yeah.
Could be.
And if you look at the areas, you look at Milwaukee, the select teams don't come any further than Milwaukee. They don't think that the talent is here, and there is a lot of talent.
Mhm.
And I think being that we're short of money, some of these parents are, their kids are really good players, but they're not gonna get recognized because they ain't on that select team.
You have to find a way to get those kids
Yeah, I
involved
think
as
so
well.
too.
You coached on the high school level. Menasha was the first team, you
Yeah.
coached there for a long time. But you were involved in other high schools as well.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
career, how many years did you coach high school?
Ah.
From when it
28
first started in the
Yeah,
early 80s?
Well, I
28
started
in
with
Menasha.
Menasha in 80,
Yes,
1980.
yeah.
That was the first team. I was there for like 28 years.
Boys
Well,
and
you were still
girls.
coaching a couple of years ago at
Yeah,
Nina,
and
so
then
close
I
to
went
40.
to Appleton North with the girls. John
Mhm.
Rubin asked me to go over there, and I was there for a long time. And then, because parents got involved, and so he decided to resign. So I said, well, if you're going to go, then I'll go too.
Mhm.
Then Harry, when I left Menasha, Harry was the one that said, why don't you come and be my assistant? So I said, fine, you know.
Now, you were there 10 years,
Yeah,
I think, weren't you?
10 and 11 years,
Yeah.
something like that. And then, because he resigned, and I said, okay, I'll go.
We talked before about playing with immigrants and with new players from the area, high school players that might have played football. How was that? I mean, they had a different attitude. They hacked when they were supposed to hack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I played indoor, and when I was with some of the old players, like the doctors and that, and I'd be dribbling the ball, and we played the thing, and the guys kicking me in the back of the leg, and I said, I'd stopped, I picked the ball up, I said, yeah, you really want this? And Omar Tassi and Bruce Douglas shout out, oh, take it easy on him, he's on Medicare. So, you know, I went through it, and the kid looked at me and I went, I've had too much of this. So I just, it was treated as a joke, but because them players all knew me, you know.
Right, yeah.
And they played for me, so I could get away with a lot of things, you know. So,
Well, they didn't understand you anyway.
well, no, they still don't. See, when people ask me now, where you from, I say South Nina. And they go, no, you're not.
I remember, and I don't know if you want me to mention this story, but I was refereeing for a while, and every time I refereed your team, I thought, you were getting on my case. It was, referee, referee. And I looked, now what did I miss? What did I not do right? But he was saying Jeffrey. He was calling one of his players. I thought he was the referee.
Okay. And like when Jim used to say, Dad, I want your accent for high school, for college. And I said, why is that? He said, the girls love that.
See, that's what got you here today. Any advice you have to young people, new people coming into coaching?
Well, you know, years ago, we was a lot different. You could get away with a lot of screaming and all that. Well, now you can't do that. So I think for any young coach, you've got to have more diplomat about it. You know, pull a player aside and talk to him if he's doing something wrong, rather than try to scream like we used to do, like the old times was. I mean, I can remember when I played as a kid. I mean, I've had coaches hit me at the back of the head and say, hey, liven yourself up, things like that. Well, when I came over here, I was just screaming at players, and I found as the years went on, yeah, that's not good. And I think any young coach, if you really want to stay coaching, I think it's better if you just pull a kid aside and talk to him than scream it out on the field. And I think he learns more from that, and he has maybe a little bit more respect for you screaming at him, you know, because maybe he gets that at home as well, I don't know. But that's the way I look at it. Now, I think coaching is all about being nicer. You know, you want to get your point over, I think you've got to pull them aside and talk to them, rather than scream half across the field. And like you said, the referee didn't understand what I was saying, so I'm sure the player didn't. So, you know, and I think too, learning from my grandsons too, a couple of times when Jim, my son's coached, he screamed at a couple of players on the field. And Marshall, the oldest one, has gone over and said, Dad, you don't do that no more. This is how you're supposed to do it. Because he was an assistant coach at lacrosse too with the women over there.
Yeah.
So he learned a lot. And I said, yeah, that's a good idea. Because they don't wait. Kids don't listen to you on the field.
But I remember you telling me once that the reason you would say something to the referee, for example, because you didn't want the kids to do that.
Right.
You wanted to get that across. You told the kids, don't say anything to the ref. I'll do that.
Yeah. And you see that all the time now. Especially on the pro teams, like in Germany and Holland, and teams like that in England too. If them players speak to that referee, they get a card right away. You can't say nothing to him. That's his job. And if you watch you watch a lot of games, you see that all the time. That player opens his mouth, he's going to get a card, and so maybe kicked out. And now you've got to play with 10 guys.
Get to it early.
Yeah. So you know, in a good way, I think is the cards and toning down the language part of it too, and you see it all the time. But players, young players, learn from them players.
Absolutely, yes.
They do. When I was playing, when I used to go and watch West Ham play, I could get in for nothing because of playing for West Ham boys, but when we watched them play, we think, hey, look at what he's doing.
Yeah.
And we go and play the next day, and we'll be doing the same thing.
They'll learn by example.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly the same.
Yeah. Elaine, do you have anything to add? What you got out of soccer? Apparently much more involved here than you were in London.
Yeah, I was much more involved here. Like I said, I really didn't go to I didn't go to any soccer games until I met Jim, and very few after we were together. That was my family's. When I started watching soccer over here, we enjoyed it. I've enjoyed watching my son play. I mean, he played from 4 years old all the way through. When he went to college, he played at GB for 4 years up there. And now he's coached ever since then.
Wow.
He coached the women at GB for a while, and then he's coached Lightning or different teams up in Green Bay, and now he's still coaching the Green Bay team. And now I'm watching the next generation with Marshall coaching, and it's so fun to see how they've developed and what they've learned from soccer. And through the years when they've always played, I appreciate soccer a lot because it has brought a lot into my life.
And we appreciate you two coming here. We're
Thank you.
very privileged and blessed that you chose
I'm
this
going to
area.
show you one thing. The reasons she didn't come to many games, I kicked the ball in the crowd and it hit her in the face.
The very first,
really?
the very first professional game I went to watch, his dad took me, and it hit me right in the face.
I cleared the ball, and it was, you know, it was all mud.
There was a crowd. It was a big crowd, and who does the ball? His dad was like, "Oh."
Bang! She looked at me.
Did you know it came from his foot?
Oh yeah, because I was watching the game. I was watching him. I really wasn't watching the game. I mean, he was my boyfriend. I have to watch. So yeah, I was watching.
But you had a lot of time since then to get even with it.
Lots of times.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. This was great talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for the input,
Appreciate you
and thanks
asking.
for being here. You've made a difference in soccer here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.